Hello and welcome back to Aston Martin, or, in this case, former Red Bull, as we take two former Red Bull drivers to the Red Bull Ring in Austria in F1 Manager 2022. I mean, major spoilers on this screen if you haven't watched last episode. I would suggest you go back and watch it, because we did finally ditch Lance Stroll. Although, weirdly enough, the episode then featured probably more of Lance Stroll than any other one previous, because we were behind him for most of the way in Silverstone. Watch that video, the link's down below if you haven't seen it already, along with the full playlist of all 10 races at this point that have already been published. I'm starting to get the point where I'm recording ahead enough that I'm losing track of what's live and what's not. Yeah, trying to remember what I can and can't spoil for YouTube purposes is getting a little bit trickier as the days go by. But there's nothing really as a team principal that I've got to deal with before this race, so I'll just provide a quick preview of the Red Bull Ring. It's a very short lap, less than 1 minute 10 as a lap time, and in the actual race, half of it is in all sessions, but in the actual race, the 3 DRS zones is going to be a bit of a problem because it's effectively half a lap in DRS. 3 separate detection points as well. It's not just detect once and you get multiple bursts of DRS as you do in some tracks. It is 3 separate detection points. So I've got an awful feeling there's going to be a lot of overtake and re-overtake in this one. Probably the same driver will overtake, be overtaken, and then re-overtake again by the 3rd DRS end point. And then the reverse will just happen on the following lap because, quite frankly, the lap length between the end of the 3rd DRS and the start of the 1st DRS, definitely not enough to pull a second out of, I would imagine. But only the 10 corners here, so somewhat easier to remember the numbers in this case, and one of them isn't really a corner.
The battle is surely going to rage this weekend. Welcome to the Green Hills of Austria. The Red Bull Ring hosted its first Grand Prix in 2014, and it's been spectacular ever since. The Red Bull Ring is one hungry beast of a power track. Drivers face a steep climb up to turn 3 and a fast ride downhill through wide corners and straights thereafter. There's plenty of opportunity to overtake here, especially with the help of 3 DRS zones. Let's get this underway.
So as always, practice no feature. I'll see you for qualifying. And actually, Crofty mentioned something there. The first race here was in 2014, so I actually don't know how well Sebastian Vettel does actually know the Red Bull Ring from his Red Bull days. Whether or not it was a testing track for them, I'm not fully certain. But anyway, I'll see you for qualifying. Concerning qualifying, although just bear in mind that Pierre Gasly stopped halfway through because he didn't need to do any more running, and Sebastian Vettel, I put in the terrible engine parts. So I don't think either of these are a representative pace, but it is concerning that Williams have found pace. Daniel Ricciardo's picked up a penalty from somewhere, no idea how. I didn't actually get 100% on Vettel in the end, but yes. 2 sets of 15-15, that'll be grand. And, something I failed to mention earlier, 2 sets of light rain for qualifying and the race. There was no rain in practice, so if there is rain, it's happening now. Get to that side, put the good engine back in, put the good DRS back in, put the sort of good gearbox back in, and start qualifying. I'm going to try something in qualifying here. I'm going to try and guarantee our drivers clean air, because this is a track that's a little problematic in that respect. Although, I do need to check the weather forecast. It does seem concerning. The suggestion of no rain in this first qualifying, so we might be okay to try this. You know what? Actually, I'm not risking it. The busyness running in this sector is a little bit weird, so I'm not going to mess around. I'm going to send Pierre out now. What I wanted to try was actually get a lap in as everyone's finished their laps, but there seems to be 2 peaks of running here rather than 1. But I am very concerned by that graph now I've looked at it, because it looks like we're going to be doing a flying lap as the track ramps up. So for our first flying lap, Gasly came out ahead of Norris, so Gasly's got a clean lap. Vettel will catch Norris as Gasly heads towards corners 4 and 5. Down the hill now. It looks like Vettel caught Norris at the top of the track, so probably was okay there. But Gasly is first of the 2 drivers. Down the hill he goes. Through 7 and 8. And down towards 9 and 10. The 2 right-handers where all the track limits warnings were in the real race. I don't think there's any such problems here, as Gasly puts in a 1.55. Vettel crosses the line second for a 1.5, I presume, 6. Zhou Guanyu the next to cross the line that actually matters. We'll just find out what his time is just so we can tally it. Zhou was slower because he got held up. Never mind.
We take a look now. Now look at this. Pierre Gasly.
Well, Gasly spun.
Team are devastated. They'll be questioning just what happened out there.
He spun on his in-lap there, Crofty. I don't think the team are that bothered. If anything, it might have slowed down Norris if there was a yellow flag. Right, so of course it is a very short lap here, so there is a concern if you try to send your drivers out first that you won't get across the line. But then if I try and risk it the other way round, there's also a chance they will get across the line in time. Gasly is currently 15th, Tsunoda currently 16th, but concerningly, Albon is in 13th. And Norris and Zhou were definitely impeded on their laps. I have no idea about Tsunoda, but Norris and Zhou were definitely impeded. Zhou was impeded by, I think, Russell, and Norris was impeded by Gasly spitting in the yellow flag that resulted. So, and the AlphaTauri is already out here. So I see the two Ferraris coming out, and one of the Williams is already gone. So Gasly, I'm getting out ahead of the Mercedes, actually. And we'll try and get Vettel out next because I am not risking. You typically want to send your drivers out between 150 and 210 to guarantee they'll get across the line. Ironically, Vettel might be directly behind Stroll. He is. That could get awkward. Okay, so interestingly though, Tsunoda will be the first one across the line to finish his flying lap. So the one man who is directly behind us in the drop zone will be the first one to improve in theory, as Gasly crosses the line now with the Mercedes behind him, but the Ferrari's ahead, so he's got good clean air for the time being, and, well, unfortunately to the Mercedes might impede them a little bit, but they'll be alright. I'm sure they'll cope. In fact, actually, the Ferraris are going to be impeded by one of the Williamses. I don't know which one it is that came out first, but they've already caught them by the end of corner 6, I think that is. 4, sorry. 4, 5, 6 now, where they are. But Gasly approaching corner 6 himself. Yeah, that Ferrari is just on the back of the Williams. That's what you don't want to get stuck behind. As soon as I saw the Ferraris coming out, that's why I went for Gasly there, in the hope I'd get behind them. Because I think, actually, the Mercedes is closing on Gasly behind now. But into the final two corners for Pierre Gasly. And across the line, Tsunoda's already gone 12th. Norris has already gone 8th. Gasly does improve. Not enough. Ricciardo's got a penalty, do not forget, though. Vettel behind barely improves as well. Daniel Ricciardo goes up to 11th. Albon currently out of the bottom 5, but the Haas of Mick Schumacher and Zhou also yet to cross the line. Oh, Mick had problems, it seems. Mick stayed 17th. Oh dear. Well, 18th, 19th isn't great. Good news is we do have parts incoming, just not here. Fernando Alonso's got a penalty. That must be a parts penalty.
Drivers are strapping themselves in, ready for race day.
A sunny day here with only a few clouds to stay this way. The weather shouldn't pose.
I don't want to alarm you, Karun, there, but that is literally a cloud there.
This is the moment where it all comes together. So prepare for another thrilling race here at the Austrian Grand Prix.
There's another one. I think Karun's weather app's broken there. Quite frankly, I want to see if both can do this. They can. We saw at the beginning that the average lap time for the mediums was less than the average lap time for the hards and the softs. So, oh god, there's rain in the middle. Oh, there's rain there too. No, right. Just looking at the strategies for Sebastian Vettel, medium, hard, medium, hard, soft are the options. There's no two stoppers here, so there's no double pit stop thing that we can benefit from in Austria, unfortunately. But also, light rain in the middle of the race could be a marginal problem. I think we just put the hards on at the start and hope that plenty of people do the mediums and pit before the rain happens. Because thankfully the AI aren't smart in that respect yet. And actually, judging by our starting positions, it looks like Danny Ricciardo's, said his name weirdly there, penalty actually was a significant penalty. Because there should only be Fernando Alonso behind us penalty-wise otherwise. So it looks like Ricciardo's penalty was actually quite hefty. And for once, we'll actually double-check the overall results from qualifying. Max from Leclerc, from Perez, from Sainz. Bottas splitting the Mercedes. Tsunoda got into Q3.
It's the race we've all been waiting for. It's the Austrian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Off the line our drivers go, and already having a look at, good lord, it is loud with 20 engines. But no places gained off the start. It actually looks like Vettel's got Gasly there, which might be problematic in the long run, but I think Gasly's got a better run into the third corner because he's on the inside of this Williams when everyone brakes. And well, Gasly, a perfect opportunity to slingshot himself straight through there, doesn't take it. AI, work that one out, please. But Vettel has now taking Albon on what will be the third DRS zone when DRS activates. And around the final corners, 9 and 10 incoming to complete the first lap of the Red Bull Ring. 71 laps of this race because of its short lap. But Place is gained for Vettel. Place dropped technically for Gasly. But he was seemingly very hard done by the AI there. Not really taking the opportunity to slingshot himself up the inside of several drivers as they basically stopped at the third corner. But it's Vettel now on the outside. Again, everyone just stops at the third corner. That definitely needs looking at. Oh, in the background there, Gasly was on the inside of Albon and takes him.
They've moved up a place.
We'll watch that one again because we didn't really see it fully. Just everyone slows down.
This was the Aston Martin.
No, Norris, Ricardo, sorry. McLaren have developed some kind of phasing technology. Meanwhile, Vettel, last time we looked at him, was so close to Mick Schumacher, you could probably smell his exhaust fumes. But now he's actually on the inside of him in turn 6 and has got him by the out of turn 7. Sebastian Vettel up to 14th. May never have driven it as a Red Bull driver, but enjoying his time as an Aston. Someone's had a moment. Oh, it's at the back. It's Daniel Ricciardo again. Along with the Williams of Latifi. It's a shock, I know. Let's see what Latifi / Ricciardo did. Is it Ricciardo having a moment and then crashing into Latifi? I mean, great camera angle there.
Oh, there's chaos on the track.
I mean, what a clear angle that was to judge everything from. I mean, it does kind of sum Latifi up that you just suddenly see him moving sideways from nowhere, but Vettel now smelling what the Haas is cooking of Magnussen. We just have Mick for company behind. And in fact, actually, both of them on the medium tyres. Let's see how many people might be caught out by the rain. Ooh, that's a lot of people. There might be a lot of people pitching for hard tyres about 5 laps before the rain comes, if it does. The DRS should now be active, which means we might be able to just calm down a little bit, all things considered.
All okay on fuel.
I kind of feel like I don't need to go off even aggressive at this point, because 3 stars gets us to the end of the hard stint as standard. 3 dots, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, you can see they can get a comfortable amount still even on the hard medium strategy. Someone's pitted already. Was it Ricardo or Latifi? Both of them, in fact. Someone has fallen off a pack here. Zhou has. It's somewhat confusing due to the giant dot of Sebastian Vettel on the minimap, but there are 2 cars actually ahead of him on the track. The first of which is now Stroll again. We enjoyed the review of our former teammate quite a lot at Silverstone, and seemingly it's happening again. I never came back after watching the Latifi Ricardo nonsense. They're fighting out ahead. Vettel's just enjoying time, saving his fuel a little bit, allowing them to squabble between themselves. And in fact, just waltzing past Zhou Guan Yu, but he might get him back at the corner. Nope, actually. Having a look at Stroll, actually, is Vettel here, although yielding unnecessarily once again. The Williams have been dropped, though, unfortunately. That reasonable qualifying pace is not translated to race pace, unfortunately, for the Williams. And seemingly, Alonso has been caught out in the process as well, stuck driving by himself in 18th. I would expect him to catch Albon, but I'm not sure what's going on there. Vettel and Stroll have DRS on Magnussen here. Neither of them making a move. I mean, we're used to Lance Stroll not making a move when he clearly can, so no surprise that he doesn't go there either. So Vettel now just cutting inside. Stroll doing the same ahead, so cuts off Vettel in the process. Although Lance's inability to really make a move at all on Magnussen might cost him here. No, yeah, janky animations and AI is just costing Seb there. Alonso is catching Albon. So there's kind of 3 races and then 4 cars not really doing much at this point, but there's a race for first between the Ferraris and the Red Bulls, all separated once again by a DRS. Then you've got Russell through to Ocon in 1 pack, and now Stroll through to Gasly as a 3rd pack. Someone's locked up somewhere else. It's Latifi again. I like the fact he always calls Latifi a competitor. I mean, the word competitor there is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Latifi is actually very close to being lapped already, because of course he is. And the sky has gone dark. No rain on the preview just yet, so we're expecting a little bit of rain, and then it might dry out, and then a little bit more rain, which would be significant enough, I imagine, for Inters. I wonder if it's going to be worth putting Inters on here, letting them dry out a bit, and then just having a couple laps of dry on inters before they become useful again. And then it'll just be soft to the end, I imagine. But it's going to be dry at least for the next 12 minutes. Gasly's struggling a little bit to keep up here. Oh, good lord, I say that. There's been... Ooh, I don't know what happened there. I will watch that again because I don't know what happened. Everyone just sort of stopped.
There we have Joe.
Ah, yes, I see what's happened there. AI's decided that going across the grass with Vettel was the sensible thing to do.
Moving up a place there.
Vettel's back in DRS range though, so there's no major concerns. We're happy to just push on the tyres for this entire stint because we're probably going to actually get rid of them before this medium stint starts. I do have to try and work out when we can actually recharge ERS if we ever can here, because there is a bit of a problem, and none of these positions are even points positions. Push on fuel at least. Definitely go aggressive a little bit here just to get back in range. Oh my god, it's happened again. Okay, there are problems in Austria as well, as that immediately puts Vettel over a second outside, but he will have DRS because he was within it. I'm tempted to say driving clean air on both drivers, because at the very least it will get them out of the line of the driver in front when they brake, in theory. I need Vettel to get in line here though. DRS, Vettel, DRS. It's a thing, Vettel, DRS. Oh no, Mick might get him here. I mean, hopefully their squabbling is going to save Vettel here. It has, thankfully. I'm just going to see if I can recharge a little bit with Gasly if I just compensate with attacking. And thankfully, actually, Vettel was far enough behind of the group there that he's not being caught out this time at that corner. This is going to be an interesting race to unfold because it's all about just managing maybe ERS and DRS as best we can. Gasly has to attack on his tyres now just because of Mick Schumacher. Alonso is actually catching all of us now as well. Gasly's been dropped. Gasly's been dropped, so I might as well just harvest with him now because there's no real point otherwise. Poor Gasly. So he's taken a few laps and he's 5 seconds behind already. That DRS is life-saving, frankly. There's a chance something will happen when they catch Latifi and Ricciardo, but... well, that's unfortunate timing. Well, the good news is he'll have DRS at least on this straight, but he's not going to get back in range again either, so...
The Aston
That's the end of both races, because he's gone off and lost DRS. Neither can actually do anything now. Might as well fully harvest, try and get his fuel back in range. The rain should help with the fuel overall if it does come, but he's already 3.5 seconds behind just when he rejoined and without DRS. And Alonso's has got Gasly. At least Gasly's got DRS on Alonso now and a full ERS package, so
now watch this.
Alonso here might actually save Gasly's race. Yeah, as long as Gasly stays on Alonso's tail for the remainder as he slowly gets onto the back of the Mick Schumacher to Magnussen train, we should be alright. Lapping Latifi actually detached Norris from the first train as well, and seemingly also Leclerc from the leading train. So at this point, we just accept the fact that Vettel will not get back into Mick Schumacher's train via his own driving. So we're just allowing Alonso to zoom up behind and overtake whilst Vettel recovers fuel and ERS. Still pushing the tyres a little bit because we can sort of get away with that, but we'll just allow Alonso to... Okay, Gasly's taking Alonso back again. That doesn't help overall, Pierre. Pierre will obviously just get into DRS range of Vettel here now. Might as well watch it though. Yeah, just returning the favour next lap, basically. On the inside of Alonso. Good move, actually, all things considered. So with DRS, we're good enough to get past the Alpine. Good to know. That's actually a good reference. But we seem to be burning through fuel quite happily in the early stints on aggressive strategies. So just conserving a little bit more. We'll just go regular now, just because obviously Gasly's on the back already. But still continue to harvest. The more that we have in hand now, it means more that we can push later on without having to be too worried. We're 7 seconds behind that train now, just because of all of this. Is Gasly having a look at Vettel now? But I'm not too bothered as long as it happens smoothly. Ah, good.
You've done a good job.
That's the perfect scenario. Oh, Pierre got stuck at the corner, it seems, because he was about a second behind Vettel at the start of that straight. So I think he got pinched to the corner the same way Vettel was earlier on. But now we've got Alonso ahead of us, and the gap to the train ahead is only 6 seconds. So we'll use him and follow him through. We've got full ERSs, basically. Tyres are okay. We'll have a quick look at the report. Still no rain for the near future, but it is still coming. In fact, it looks like it might get wetter than it originally was predicting, and the dry period basically gone. So it looks like it's going to be a more safer bet to go on inters. The track will dry entirely, but for a brief moment with the current weather forecast. On the outside of Alonso here, I don't know if the fighting here is going to be a problem. There's been an incident in Sector 2. No one appears... Oh, no, I was about to say no one appears to be going slowly. Magnussen is because he's stationary.
Let's see what happened.
That's
there.
not turn 3,
All
is
right,
it?
it's on.
That's turn 4, for starters.
Spun the car. Will
I think that's
they
what
be
Pierre
able
did
to
in
recover?
qualifying.
We'll see.
Doesn't really affect us too much. It's a place gained, but that's about it. Magnussen might be faster than Gasly. Not certain. I mean, overall, as a group, we're now only 5.6 seconds behind what is now just Stroll, Zhou, and Mick Schumacher. There's only 3 of them left now because of Magnussen's spin. But I'm happy to just let this play. Oh, God, Gasly's fallen out of DRS range somehow.
Now look at this.
So as the laps
Pierre
pass, there's a lot
Gasly.
of back and forth. They did have to use a little bit of ARS to get Gasly back into this fight briefly, but he's okay overall. But yeah, there's a little bit of back and forth. It's occasionally the person at the back just goes past both of them at the same time, and the person at the front ends up at the back because he doesn't have the DRS. But
That was a big moment.
a bit of back and
Team are
forth.
Really delighted.
We're now 28 laps in,
We are expecting rain.
and here comes the rain. Not for another 5 laps, apparently. And again, I think the peak of the rain is a lot higher and a lot later. It's whether or not this bit is worth inters or not. It's whether or not this bit goes above a millimetre or not. Because it's not going to be up above it for long as things are stand, actually. So it might not be worth going on 2 inches until this section here. Lap 42, I think that is. And our original strategy for pitting is lap 43, in fact. So people are pitting now. Are these the medium runners pitting now? The medium runners are pitting now and rain is coming. Right at the point where hard runners would actually probably pit for inters is whether or not the rain is going to be enough to trigger inters before the regular hard stop is. But Gasly, Vettel, Alonso up to 11th to 13th now, our little group. Are we getting close to the group ahead now? Oh, because of Bottas's pit stop, we are getting a little bit closer. How are you on your tyres? You're running a little bit of low schedule, but it's not too dramatic. Who's the one at the front right now? Gasly. I'm going to deploy a little bit on Gasly just to try and get in Bottas range, because he's pitted already. I was going to deploy, but there's a Williams to lap in a moment, so that's going to get in the way. In fact, irritatingly, that Williams is fighting. Actually, the Williams is fighting Bottas. Yeah, the Williams with Bottas has actually brought us all into DRS range. We're having to lap it now, sloppily. I think we're all no, we didn't quite. We didn't all get into DRS range again there, thanks to that lapping, but we should be able to get there. Because the problem is Alonso got into Bottas's there. I think we're a little bit stuck now. I think Gasly is off Alonso, unfortunately. And there's nothing we can do about it. Yeah, even deploying isn't doing anything. Alonso did the fastest first sector there. Vettel did the fastest fast sector. Don't fight him now, Vettel, don't fight him. We've got to try and catch up here. We need to work together at this point. All right, so the rain is coming. It's getting... It's going to get to a millimetre, I think, which is where inters are good. I need Gasly to harvest. Oh, we've gone past the pit lane. This might be a mistake. So it's already at a millimetre, but it's going to come back down again, is my thinking. I'm going to take a risk and stay out until it actually gets wet here. Because otherwise we're outside the points anyway. We need to risk this. How many laps is it going to stay wet for, though? 3 laps? How much time are we going to lose in that time? Are we going to lose enough time? I want to see the lap times that they're doing on these inters. Well, they're not going to get across the line in time, are they? Everyone's coming in. It's getting closer to 2 millimetres. I'm going to pit them. I'm going to pit Pierre, who is ahead at this point. We'll split the strategy. We'll pit Pierre. His tyres were slightly worse to begin with. I don't think we can double stack him at this stage either, because it's going to cause a little bit too much problem. Wait, Vettel was on deploy there? Why? Alonso's already caught him, I think. Alonso's already caught Vettel. This has not worked out. We now have to stay out with Vettel because it's not worked out otherwise. Ocon stayed out, actually, interestingly. So it's going to stay at this level for like 2 laps, but then drop again, and then come back in. It's going to go to wets, I now realise. That's going to be strong enough for wets. Okay, the prediction has just changed. We have been done in here. I'm wondering if it's just worth going on wets now with Vettel. It looks like it's going to hover around this 2 millimetre range for a while, but then it will go up. I wonder if this is worth going on wets, because apparently wets are okay in this period anyway. We have to do something with Vettel because he is struggling massively at this point. So,
Picking front. Good.
as you'd expect, really. Yeah, very much ruined Vettel's race there, unfortunately. Although, technically he started 17th, so... We can probably push the Inters quite hard here, because they will dry out again, don't forget. Because the weather should come to Vettel here. It's going to go away from him a little bit, but it's going to come towards him quite sharply in about 3 laps' time. Should have put him on Inters, but weren't to know. We thought it was going to get better before it got worse. I realise now this might be our first wet race. And I also realised we've been on board with Alonso ever since I pointed out he was catching Vettel ages ago. Is Vettel going slower than the Inters?
With an overtake.
I might have been lied to here, by the way. I was told that the wets were good, even in Inter conditions. I mean, Vettel's lap time includes his pit stop, though, so it's hard to tell. I mean, there's really no reason not... Oh, it's because he's still harvesting. That's why he's going slow. But everyone else will probably switch from Inters to wets. Now, it's kind of the reverse for Pierre Gasly. Do we leave him out on Inters in the presumption that it will come back into Inters range? Sure, there's no scale on this side to help us out. I think effectively we leave both drivers out at this stage until it becomes dry again. We're very much now definitely into Inter's territory, but the rain is going to come back up again. Might as well attack, really. I'm going to say, we're not going to need the full Inter, so we might as well attack a bit. Someone's locked up somewhere. Was it Magnussen again? It was Magnussen again. Vettel's back up to 17th.
Let's take a closer
I mean, we'll watch this, but
So this
I don't
was
think
the
it's much of an
Aston
overtake. I mean, he overtook just by purely existing there. I mean, Gasly's on the back of Tsunoda, but it's a wet race. I thought we might be quite good in the rain just because we're quite good in sort of low-speed corners in the first place. So, obviously, the rain brings things more towards low speed as a unit. So I thought we might be a little bit decent in the rain, but I mean, we've not really lost... I mean, we've lost a little bit to Russell, etc. I don't know actually how much time we had to Russell before, but we were still within a second of Tsunoda. Obviously, there's no DRS at the moment, but so the rain's coming back up again. So this is getting more towards Vettel's range. And actually, what is the lap time for Vettel compared to Gasly? Vettel's doing 1:22.7s, Gasly's doing 1:22.1s. There is very little in it between the inters and the wets at this point. So what I was told was true in regards to that. And now it's coming towards Vettel in terms of tyre. I don't think the peak's quite as high as it was a couple of laps ago, but still. I think these two are both still trying to be told to drive in clean air, which might actually not be a good idea because we're going to be driving in the wet lines now, if that's a thing. So, yeah, obviously Vettel's hot tyres are a little warm because of being on wets and inters conditions, but it is what it is, and it will come towards him now. Gasly's the last one not to be lapped yet. Sainz is coming up on him. So if there's any safety cars now, that'll be wonderful, but I mean, Gasly's got a chance of points here if people crash, but in fact, actually telling Gasly not to drive in clean air has brought him onto Tsunoda. Maybe that was holding him back. Maybe... I now genuinely believe that Pierre Gasly was driving in wet places to avoid being in clean, dirty air, and now because of that, he's attacking Tsunoda now that he's no longer doing that. I mean, the rainfall staying at 2.5 was the wet gamble for Seb a bad one. I mean, I don't think the wet gamble for Seb's been a bad one. Stroll is in 6th. Oh, God. Stroll's about to lap Vettel. Hang on a second. Stroll, how have you managed this? You were doing hard, so you benefited there, didn't you? Stroll doing 1:13.6s, Vettel doing 1:13.9 somehow. I mean, he's catching, but he might not get him before the rain goes. That's the peak of the rain. That did not peak upwards. I have been bamboozled by this graph, because that was 2 millimeters. That should be 4, at least, and now it's coming down again. Sebastian Vettel, you have been done in by our telemetry, I'm afraid. This will now come down again. It was a little bit unfortunate that we were just by the pit lane when everyone started pitting for inters. So we basically had to do one lap and we couldn't put them together because they were line astern. I mean, maybe double stacking would have saved Vettel. It definitely would have saved Vettel, but our original graph told us it would be completely dry momentarily before coming back again. Someone's gone wide. I mean, the good news is Stroll might...
They've gone wide!
It's Stroll who's gone wide.
Now look at
Of course
this.
he has.
It was the Alpha
Just
Tauri
before he
driver
was about to...
and they've gone
Oh,
wide.
wasn't that wide, but
Way
Norris is on his
wide.
back now. Just as he was about to lap Vettel, he bottled it and went wide. I mean, we're obviously going to have to bring... I mean, actually, Gasly and Vettel are now obviously separated by a lot, so we could obviously pit them in the same lap now if we wanted. So this is coming down now. It's just trying to work out at what point do we pit them. I don't want to miss out this time. It's coming down slowly. Oh, it's going to come down dramatically. There's Ferrari lapping Gasly. I'm going to tell Gasly to deploy here because Tsunoda's going to get away out of the Ferrari here, and now Gasly has the run on him. I mean, there's no DRS, so I'm not going to bother trying to gap him at this point, but cheers, Sainz. Thanks for that point. Thanks for that place.
Great play there.
We'll
Let's have
rewatch
a
that
look.
one. Just Sainz slowing Tsunoda down for us. Thank you very much, Carlos.
Gaining a position there.
Well, it was easy in fairness, that one. Right, back to the race again. And of course, Stroll now has... Well, Stroll's got Danny Rick for company, who isn't going slower than him, but he can't unlap himself. And by the time Stroll is going to catch Vettel here, it'll be time for pits. And actually, that's a valid point. How many laps are going to be remaining when we need to pit here? Probably 1 or 2 at least, less here. So what are we on, 46? Well, the leader's on 46, I should say. We're going to be on 40. Yeah, we're all on 45. So there's what, 30? 25 laps remaining? Softs last 44 to be good. Oh yeah, that's a point. Yeah, probably mediums then. Probably mediums to the end, pushing them. Because softs, we saw softs were good for about 25 laps at regular pace. So I think we're probably going to be looking at mediums to the end, but we can push those mediums. How's Vettel's fuel looking? Pretty good. So Vettel has just passed the in point. There's still 1.5 millimeters on the track. Bottas didn't pit. The next batch didn't pit. The Ferrari didn't pit. It's drying out slowly. So definitely not this lap to pit. Once again, we'll just consult the graph. It's a very slow drying out, isn't it? I think our initial graph was wrong. I think this bit was wrong initially. I think this rained more than it was expecting here. But obviously, I don't think it updates the historical prediction. It just updates the future predictions. So I think we were told there was only going to be about a millimeter of rain, and there ended up being 2 initially, and that's what's bamboozled us in the remaining sectors of that rain. Okay, we're down to 1.2. Still no on pitting. We're getting close to it. Obviously, track grip is low. Rubber's now low again because it's all been washed off. Gasly is closing in. What is the gap to Tsunoda at this point? Just push a little bit on everything. I want to actually now gap Tsunoda because we're not far off this being a dry track and DRS being a thing again. So I want to get a gap in before we start pitting. In fact, it's just gone cloud again, which is probably going to slow things down. I would like about 2 seconds if possible. Getting there. And any moment now, he'll be 2 seconds. And that is under a millimeter. So there are 24 laps remaining, 25, I think. There's 24 laps remaining. It's going to be sketchy on those softs, I think. I'm going to pit Pierre. Where is Sebastian? Sebastian's just gone past it, annoyingly. I'm going to pit them both for mediums. They are far enough removed either way. Joe's spun on turn 4. He's on older tyres at this point. No one else has come in with Pierre, but that is coming down slowly. I'm slightly concerned that no one else has come in with Pierre now, but no one looks like they are coming in. But it's going to be down to about 0.8 millimeters by the time Gasly comes out. I'm going to deploy on the outlap. Track grip's back up to normal as well. Oh, and it looks like Hamilton's just pitted, so the call has been made for some drivers.
Copy.
And everyone is still having to use their inters on this drying track. I'm intrigued to see if any gaps are happening here. Norris is the one ahead of Gasly, so 10 seconds is the gap to him. I don't think it's drying enough. I think both tyres are functional at this point. Yeah, it looks like both tyres... In fact, Norris has continued. I'm going to have to go neutral on Pierre now. I can deploy on Sebastian because I never actually deployed initially with Sebastian. Pierre appears to have cleared Tsunoda again. What is the gap to Tsunoda? How much did he clear him by? 2.8. 3 seconds total. Gonna have to come back on the fuel though, because oh dear. And how hard can we push these? On 5 star, actually, it's actually put it in as a 5 push. We can actually push these tyres to the end. We're okay. I mean, Sebastian is miles behind everyone at this point, but he might benefit Sebastian. Oh no, I think he's only unlapping himself on a couple of people, and that's it. Norris has only just come in now, actually. Bear in mind, Pierre was 10 seconds behind Norris before they pitted. Gasly has cleared him, forcing Norris to do another lap on those intermediates on a dry track. Absolutely scuppered his chances. Gasly is only 2.5 seconds behind Ocon in 10th. Unfortunately, Ocon does have DRS from Russell. Are any of these still on? No. Oh, they've all gone on softs as well, but I don't think we could have pushed the softs, unfortunately. We can go all out on these mediums. I don't think Gasly's going to catch the Ocon-Russell pair. Yeah, unfortunately, Vettel is 40 seconds off. Unfortunately, we did ruin Sebastian's race. I think he wasn't... Well, he said he was 40 seconds off, but it appears to have neutralised itself out now. Updated to 20 seconds. Yeah, we absolutely ruined Sebastian's race, unfortunately. But yeah, Gasly's also not catching Russell. But if we get a retirement from the top 10, hopefully Stroll, and now DRS is activated as well, Bottas has caught Stroll. I'm just looking at Alonso in 6th and thinking what could have been now. Gasly was caught out by just being past the pit lane when everyone else started pitting for inters, so he had to do that extra lap. Vettel, obviously, we sabotaged more. I didn't have time to react for the inters call with Gasly, unfortunately. The AI with their psychic knowledge that they needed inters on that lap has slightly done Gasly in, but Vettel's on us. Yeah, Stroll and Bottas are fighting now, but I mean, Ocon and Russell have just been lapped, I think, by Sainz, that must be. Problem is, Russell and Sainz have got comparative pace, so now they're fighting with each other. But I think the problem is they're all faster, and Russell's getting DRS off the Ferrari. So yeah, Gasly's not catching now then. Bottas did get Stroll, but they're going to fight with each other and they're going to get caught by the Ferrari soon. Who's ahead of this pair here? That looks like a McLaren, so it might be Ricciardo. In fact, Vettel might be about to hold up a bunch of people. There goes Alonso. Sorry, Seb. That one's on me. I'm hoping Gasly gets above here again by the end of this. He's not far off, but it might need a tiny bit of conserve at one point. In fact, I might just do that now while Tsunoda is 4 seconds behind. I'll just get him in the good for the time being. You don't want to leave this too late. I think I've concluded that these are projections. So this is a case of if Vettel goes at this pace at this level of fuel usage, then he'll have 1.1 at the end of the race. He doesn't have 1.1 extra laps now. He'll have 1.1 by the end of the race. And similarly now Gasly will have 0.1 by the end of the race. So I'll just let Tsunoda come in by about another 4 tenths maybe before I switch. I just want to get a little bit more comfortable with Gasly before we switch back to medium. I want to get half a lap's worth maybe. I mean, 11th isn't bad for Gasly, but it's not points. And Stroll is going to get points. Good news, no McLaren points though, and no Haas points as things stand. But it's a not insignificant amount of points for Stroll, and Stroll will get 4 points here annoyingly. Although we know what happened last time Stroll was in a 4 points position. All right, there we are. We should be able to go back to balance now. And actually, Tsunoda didn't gain all that much. We just lost time really more than anything. Russell is in Sainz's DRS. Russell and Ocon are being pulled along by...
Got loads of energy.
Actually, simultaneously, we might as well try and harvest with Gasly for a little bit. Russell's got the run on Sainz, but because he's being lapped, he has to let him back straight away. Although they are slowly catching Bottas Stroll, so there's Bottas, and Russell's got the run on Bottas. Will Stroll catch Vettel before Sainz catches Stroll? We're about to find out. I think Stroll will get Vettel before Sainz gets Stroll. Unfortunately. I'm sorry, what?
Taking a look again.
I thought Ricciardo was behind. I thought Ricciardo was behind Vettel in the first place. I've got an awful feeling Vettel's been pushed back into Ricciardo by being lapped. But it seems like he's got him back again. Yeah, he was ahead of him. Oh, so that's unfortunate. For the love of God, a major problem has just occurred. Norris, having been lapped by Verstappen, was being towed along by Verstappen the same way Russell is being by Sainz. And as a result, he got past Tsunoda, and then the pair of them, as Verstappen caught Gasly, took Gasly as well. Someone's come off the track in Sector 1. It's Haas again, I think. It's Magnussen again, he's not having a fun time. So Gasly's now down to 13th. He's not going to get any lower than 13th because of Albon being half a minute behind, but Verstappen has just killed Gasly, basically. I mean, we're all now being towed along by Verstappen, though.
Do what you can.
And inadvertently, this might help the fuel situation for Gasly because he was slowly running out again, running at neutral. But at the same time, Gasly is now no longer able to overtake Tsunoda or Norris because they're all being towed along by Verstappen. So they've all got DRS. So Gasly is now stuck with 13th because Norris is not being dropped by Verstappen due to 3 DRS zones. This seems to be a big problem here. Lapped cars trying to unlap themselves and then obviously immediately yielding. Because there's 3 DRS zones to get called back up to the car that's lapped them. It doesn't matter really how much faster that car is, as long as it's not 3 DRS zones faster than it. Which is also keeping Stroll in points. So unless Stroll crashes again, he's actually done the same thing to Alonso as well, just now here. Sainz has pulled these two onto Alonso. He was well comfortable with them. And now Sainz has caught up and then pulled 2 cars past him.
Focus on the last 6 laps.
Stroll's up to 6th. 7th again. And unfortunately, Bottas has actually been displaced. And Gasly's just been murdered by Magnussen or Mick Schumacher, whichever one that is, just being lapped there because he was overtaking Tsunoda at that point in time. And now he's a second behind. Deploy. Oh, the traffic needs to be sorted out in this game. Seriously. It's not been a big problem, but here at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, we are being murdered by various traffic problems. I never came back on at some point, I now realise, but... Yep, so Norris and Tsunoda will drop Gasly now. And all the deployment in the world is not going to save Gasly now. Because Magnussen, or Mick, I think that might be Mick in this case. No, it's Magnussen. Because Magnussen blocked him off and put him outside of a second for the first of the 3 DRS, Gasly's now stuck. Gasly is now stuck with 13th and there's nothing he can do about it. Because Norris is still being towed by Verstappen and Tsunoda's being towed by Norris. At least Stroll's back down to 8th again. If Stroll crashes now, that'd be great, but it'll just give McLaren a point, so I don't know what I want more. Well, Stroll fell off Alonso at least, so his pace fell off, but as we enter the last lap, you can see actually pushing those medium tyres hard, they're all on the same percentage, so it was well worth doing that. Because for outright pace, that kind of probably worked out for us, but
This will be
Norris is still being towed by Verstappen on the final lap. And in the process, it's actually slowly catching the Ocon-Bottas fight, but there weren't enough laps for that. Meanwhile, the Magnussen is fighting Gasly, which is only slowing Gasly down. This has been a frustrating race. It's a race I wasn't expecting anything from because we are deadly slow at this point in time. But it's frustrating because one key competitor is actually going to get decent points here in the form of Stroll. Stroll's actually going to get ahead of Vettel in the drivers at this point as well, with 4 points. He didn't bottle it this time. Gasly will cross the line in 13th. It's not bad, he's going to get a payout for it, but we did kind of murder Vettel's race as well. Our first experience of rain, and it came at the worst possible moment for Gasly in particular. And then our forecast clearly wasn't accurate enough to help Vettel out. And I think I definitely have learned here that as soon as the laps go past, whatever the prediction was gets stuck on here, because I'm pretty certain the rain actually went up here in terms of moisture levels, which is the blue line. So what I thought was 2 millimeters on the graph was actually probably only 1 on the graph, and we've been misled what 2 millimeters actually meant, because it was kind of 2.5 at the peak later on.
As we reach mid-season, the battle will pick up again in the Côte d'Azur. Join us in the south of France at the circuit Paul Ricard.
It's kind of frustrating. At the same time, an AlphaTauri did start 8th. So overall, technically AlphaTauri didn't lose a position as a team, and Valtteri Bottas lost places. At the same time, we're not fighting Alfa Romeo really. They banked way too many points at the start of the season via Bottas. Vettel started 17th, ended 17th. I mean, as a race, it didn't really hinder him, but we could have definitely done more with him had we not bamboozled ourselves with the graph. And confirmation that Lance Stroll has pipped Sebastian Vettel in the drivers. Yuki Tsunoda is actually still behind him, and AlphaTauri have now usurped Haas, so actually that fight remains a little tighter there. We're fighting McLaren, really, I think. I mean, if we magically find 20-odd points in the remaining races, then bully for us. But yeah, Alpine and Alfa Romeo are fighting for 4th. Hilariously, they get a ton of points, because Sebastian Vettel did 18 overtakes and 22 successful defends. Fortunately, Gasly gets his payout. Now, there was our annual F1 in Schools World Finals is starting. We're aiming to spread awareness. This is the first time we've had like an event thing since the start of the season, which was just a fairly obvious, yes, we'll take the morale, thank you. Staff experience pause for 7 days versus 100 grand. Sure. I mean, a great race, so that's good news. And what is the vote? It's the scoring. Return to the vintage. Oh, in the 90s, the top-heavy scoring system was used that rewarded only the fastest team and drivers. We proposed the sporting regulation change back to the vintage scoring structure. Well, no, that's not what they're proposing. All they're proposing is a pole position bonus point and a double points for the last race, and that is it. Everything else seems to stay the same, according to the regulations. I'm still going to say no, because it still benefits the fastest teams, which we are not. Oh no, our suspension doesn't actually come in until after the next race, so it might be a little bit more pain in France, unfortunately for Pierre, his home race. I thought it arrived next time, but it does not. But our wind tunnel upgrade and the underfloor research at the same time on the same day comes in after the French race as well, so it means the next piece that we develop will have the benefit of an even better wind tunnel as well, so I'm likely to try and do another underfloor before the end of the year. But unfortunately that's it from Austria, and I don't know whether that was a good race or not, if I'm completely honest, but if you enjoyed it, do like, comment, subscribe. The engagement has actually been rather promising of late, as of recording this live. The Monaco Grand Prix episode just went live today, so over the last couple of days I have actually very much appreciated the uptick in engagement over the course of this series, both on YouTube and on Twitch, so thank you for joining me. I do appreciate every single one of you. Until next time, ta-ra.